I told my best friend of 17 years to take her medication while she was in the hospital after nearly dying. Now she's cut me off completely, turned our friends against me, and I think I ruined everything or if something bigger is going on. I'm 28, and I've been best friends with Sherry for about 17 years. We met in our first year of middle school, and from that point on, we were basically inseparable. We grew up side by side, went through all the awkward phases, the big life changes, heartbreaks, milestones, everything. She's one of those people I've always felt completely honest with. We've never been the type to sugarcoat things for each other. If something needed to be said, we said it. That's just how our friendship has always worked. Which is why now I'm questioning myself, wondering if I crossed a line somewhere along the way. Toward the end of last year, everything changed in a way I wasn't prepared for. Sherry had a severe flare-up of a chronic illness she's dealt with her whole life. It escalated quickly, and she was rushed to the hospital. Things got worse from there. She ended up being placed in a medically induced coma, and for several days, we were told there was a real possibility she might not wake up. That week felt unreal, like time had slowed down but also rushed forward all at once. I don't think I've ever been that scared in my life. Her boyfriend, Jim, who is also the father of her youngest child, was completely overwhelmed. I don't blame him. Anyone would have been. But he was struggling to function, to make decisions, to manage everything at once. They have 2 young kids, and everything just kind of fell into chaos. I didn't even think about it. I just stepped in. As the godmother of her oldest, I felt a responsibility, but honestly, it went beyond that. This was my best friend. So I started helping wherever I could. I arranged care for their baby, made sure the kids were looked after, and drove Jim back and forth to the hospital every single day after work. The hospital was over an hour and 40 minutes away one way, so each trip was close to 4 hours of driving, plus about 4 hours there visiting. Then I drive back, get maybe 2 hours of sleep if I was lucky, and go straight back to work. I also helped clean their house, did their laundry, try to keep things somewhat normal in a situation that was anything but normal. When Sherry was finally released from the hospital, I even took time off work to help take care of her and the baby at home while she recovered. I didn't hesitate. Not once. Looking back, I realized part of why I threw myself into all of that was because I was terrified. The idea of losing her felt unbearable, and staying busy was the only way I could keep myself from falling apart. If I was doing something, anything, I didn't have to sit with that fear. So yes, I did it for her and her family, but I also did it for me. It gave me a sense of control in a situation where I had none. She and Jim were incredibly grateful, and I appreciated that. But more than that, I was just relieved she made it through. A few months later, things had settled down. Or at least, it seemed like they had. Then one night, about 3 or 4 months after she got home, Jim called me again. He sounded panicked. They had called an ambulance for Sherry, and he needed someone to come watch the baby. I didn't ask questions. I just went. I rushed over and stayed at their house most of the night, waiting for updates, trying to keep things together. Eventually, Sherry was admitted again, and Jim came back home. He looked exhausted, defeated. He asked me if I could be available over the next few days to help out again. I told him yes immediately. What I didn't tell him was that I had actually taken that entire week off work. It was supposed to be for an anniversary and birthday trip I had planned for my husband. Something I had been looking forward to, something I had put effort into organizing. But in that moment, it didn't feel important. I knew my husband well enough to know he would understand. He's the kind of person who would drop everything for someone in need, just like I would. And in my mind, that's exactly what this was, a situation where someone I loved needed help and nothing else mattered as much. So, I didn't mention the trip. I just said I was available for whatever they needed. And I meant it. The next day, her baby was dropped off at my place early in the morning. I tried to make the day as calm and positive as I could for her. I set up little activities, played with her, kept her distracted. I took a bunch of pictures and videos, nothing fancy, just moments of her smiling, laughing, being a kid. I even helped her make a small get-well craft for Sherry. Something simple, but thoughtful. I sent everything over to her while she was in the hospital, hoping it would lift her spirits, even a little. She responded warmly, said she loved it, said she missed her kids. That part felt good, like I was doing something right in the middle of all the chaos. Later that evening, Jim came by to pick the baby up. He looked worn out, like the stress was starting to catch up with him. As he was leaving, he casually mentioned something that stopped me in my tracks. He said that Sherry had told the doctor she hadn't been taking her preventative medication for her chronic illness. The same illness that had nearly killed her just a few months earlier. The same illness that had put all of us through that terrifying week where we didn't know if she would wake up. What made it worse was that Jim had believed she was taking it. He had no idea she had stopped. That information hit me hard. It didn't just concern me, it upset me deeply. I tried to brush it off at first, telling myself there could be reasons I didn't understand. But the more I thought about it, the more it bothered me. I kept thinking about everything that had happened not that long ago. The hospital, the coma, the fear of losing her. I thought about the time, energy, and emotional toll it had taken on everyone around her. Not as a burden, but as something we all willingly gave because we loved her. And then to find out she hadn't been doing something as basic as taking her medication, it felt like all of that had been taken for granted. I started to feel angry, even though I didn't want to. Angry that she could put herself in that position again. Angry that she had 2 young kids depending on her and wasn't doing the bare minimum to protect her health. Angry that we had all been so scared, and it seemed like she didn't fully grasp the weight of that. At the same time, I knew I couldn't just unload all of that on her right then. She was in the hospital, already vulnerable, already dealing with a flare-up. I told myself I needed to wait, that this was something we needed to talk about, but not yet. Not like this. The next day, I was texting her while she was still admitted. She said she missed her kids so much, and I could hear the sadness in her words even through a screen. That should have been a moment where I just offered comfort, reassured her, supported her. But instead, my emotions got the better of me. Without really thinking it through, I replied, "Well, I say this with lots of love and a little sass, but maybe if you were taking your preventative medications, you could be with them right now." The second I sent it, I knew it was wrong. Not the message itself, but the timing, the delivery, everything about it. And then everything exploded. She responded immediately, and she was furious. Not just upset, livid. I had never seen her react like that toward me before. I could feel how hurt and angry she was, even through text. I tried to backtrack right away. I apologized for bringing it up while she was in the hospital, while she was already feeling low and vulnerable. I told her I still believed what I said, that she needed to take her medication, but that I shouldn't have said it like that, and definitely not at that moment. I told her I understood if she needed space. But I didn't expect what came next. She blocked me. Everywhere. Every platform. Every way we usually communicated gone. Just like that. Before I could even fully process that, Jim started texting me. Not calmly, not asking for clarification. He was angry, defensive, accusing me of being insensitive, of kicking her while she was down. It felt like everything I had done up until that point didn't matter anymore. I sat there staring at my phone, trying to make sense of how quickly everything had shifted. Part of me felt like I deserved it. I knew what I said was poorly timed. I knew it came from a place of frustration instead of care in that moment. So I told myself maybe she just needed time to cool off. That we would talk in a few days like we always had when we disagreed. That we'd work through it. But then it got worse. I started getting messages from mutual friends, people asking me what had happened, what I said, why things had blown up. I was confused at first because I hadn't told anyone. I hadn't even had time to process it myself. Then I found out why. Sherry had been posting about me on social media. Not vaguely, directly. Calling me unsupportive. Saying I was cruel. Making it sound like I had attacked her while she was at her lowest point. And people were seeing it, reacting to it, forming opinions without knowing the full story. That hurt in a way I didn't expect. Because this wasn't just an argument between us anymore. It had been turned into something public, something bigger. And suddenly, I wasn't just dealing with losing my best friend in that moment. I was also dealing with being painted as the villain in her version of events. About a week passed before I heard anything from her again. No explanation, no conversation, just a message after she unblocked me. It was short and cold. She told me to return her house key by leaving it in her mailbox. That was it. No acknowledgement of everything that had happened, no attempt to talk things through, no emotion behind it at all. Something in me snapped at that point. I had been sitting with guilt for days, replaying what I said, knowing I handled it badly, but also hoping that after everything we had been through, we would at least talk. Instead, it felt like I had been reduced to a stranger she needed to cut off cleanly. So, I went off on her. I told her how angry I was, how hurt. I told her I couldn't believe she was willing to throw away 17 years of friendship over one poorly timed comment. I reminded her of everything we had been through together, everything I had done for her and her family, not because I wanted credit, but because I couldn't understand how it all suddenly meant nothing. I told her I felt like she was erasing me. And her response? Nothing meaningful. No acknowledgement of what I said. No reaction to the emotion I had poured out. Just the same instruction, repeated like a script. Return the house key. Then she blocked me again. That hurt more than the initial fight, because at least anger would have meant she still cared enough to feel something. But indifference? That felt final. Like I didn't matter anymore at all. And yet, even in the middle of all that hurt, part of me keeps trying to understand her side. She's been through a lot recently. The hospitalizations, the chronic illness, the near-death experience, the stress of having two very young kids. She's also been open with me about struggling with postpartum depression. I've never gone through pregnancy myself, but I've had my own mental health struggles, and I know how overwhelming it can be just to function day to day, let alone take care of other people. I can imagine how hard it must be for her to manage everything at once, her health, her kids, her mental state. And I do understand that depression can make even basic tasks feel impossible. Taking medication, keeping routines, prioritizing your own well-being, it all becomes harder when your mind is working against you. But at the same time, I can't ignore how I felt in that moment. After everything she had just gone through, after how close we came to losing her, I couldn't wrap my head around her not taking her preventative medication. From my perspective, especially as someone in the medical field, it felt like something that should have been a top priority. Something non-negotiable. But maybe I was seeing it too clinically. Maybe I was looking at it through a lens of logic and responsibility, instead of understanding the emotional and psychological barriers she might be facing. Or maybe I just don't fully understand because I haven't lived it. That's the part one keep going back and forth on. It's been months now, and I'm still blocked on everything. No contact, no closure, no chance to fix things. And it hurts just as much as it did in the beginning. It honestly feels like I'm grieving someone who's still alive. She lives less than 10 minutes away from me, but she might as well be on the other side of the world. I never got the chance to properly apologize in a way that felt complete. I never got to hear her side fully. Everything just stopped. And I don't know how to move past that. Part of me feels like even if she did reach out someday, I don't know if I could go back to what we had. The way she cut me off so suddenly, so completely, it shook something in me. It made me question how secure our friendship really was if it could disappear like that. But another part of me is still worried about her. Because this isn't entirely like her. Or, at least, it didn't used to be. But recently, she has been cutting people off, mutual friends, even some family members. Some situations I understood. Others didn't make much sense to me at all. And that's what makes me hesitate. What if this isn't just about what I said? What if she's isolating herself because she's struggling more than anyone realizes? What if this is part of something bigger, a mental health crisis, something she doesn't know how to handle? That thought scares me. Because if that's the case, then walking away completely feels wrong. But at the same time, she's made it very clear that she doesn't want contact. She blocked me, told me to return her key, and hasn't reached out since. Those are boundaries, whether I like them or not. So now I feel stuck between two instincts. One part of me wants to respect her wishes, step back, and accept that this chapter of our lives might be over. The other part of me wants to try harder, to reach out somehow, to make sure she's okay, to not give up on someone who meant so much to me for so long. And I don't know which one is right. I keep asking myself if I crossed a line so badly that this outcome makes sense. If what I said, in that moment, was hurtful enough to justify everything that followed. Or if there's something more going on beneath the surface that I'm just not able to see. Did I cross a line by telling my best friend to take her medication while she was hospitalized, even if my timing was bad? Was her reaction, blocking me and cutting me off after 17 years, understandable? Or is something deeper going on with her mental health? Should I respect her boundaries and stay away, or try reaching out again to check on her? How do I cope with losing someone who's still alive? All I know is that I miss her. I miss my best friend. And I don't know how to grieve someone who's still out there living her life without me.